All right. Live stream it to the YouTubes yet again. I actually saw some people wanting to know where to watch or listen or whatever. So let me give the people what they want, and then we'll just jump right into it. How are you guys before we get much further? How is everyone?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Okay, Bags, as you know, there's stuff going on, but
Yeah.
trying to make the best of what we can, and I refuse to bite into your or anyone else's pessimism.
My pessimism.
Yes.
My pessimism.
Maybe not yours, but others. So like I'm just tired of
Wow.
negative energy.
We're going to start out with some shots fired tonight, it sounds like.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
I got my gloves on.
I just stock tweeted it, so whoever wanted to find that bad boy, they can find it now, maybe. I don't know. My pessimism. Or pessimism in general.
No, market.
Well, if you want my pessimism, then it's bearish bags for the entire month of December. There you go. There's your shots. We're totally failing this trend line, and it's going down further. That's what's happening these days.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought we might have a nice little pop from Wednesday to Thursday, but no, sir. And then good news is bad news, bad news is good news. News is news, and PPI and whatever else. But the fact of the matter is,
have we rallied on any bad news? Just thought
Yes.
No. Did we?
Yes.
What bad news did
This
we rally
right
on?
here, though. Pow, right there. Take that. All right, I'm done. Have a great night, you two. Talk about whatever you want to talk about.
No, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
So what was October 13th?
What was October 13th?
What was the piece of news data that came out October 13th?
I don't know. Google that shit.
I believe it was CPI report, right? Everyone was expecting bad CPI. We had bad CPI, and we gapped down. And what did we do? You're asking about have we had a good reaction to bad news, right?
That was Nick's question. Yes.
Yeah. So October 13th is probably one of the biggest ones, right?
Sure.
That was CPI data that everyone was expecting to come in hot, came in hot, and then we sold off, and then we immediately got bought up. So it bullish engulfed what 3-4 days in one candle.
Yeah, right there. That was major boner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think bad news is getting bought. You can see volume that's coming in. You can see we've been in this sideways range since that 7% surprise.
Is the volume coming in?
Yes, it is.
You're talking about the Qs or the NASDAQ.
I'm always talking about the Qs.
I'm just being clear for our new listeners. We might have one or two tonight. Who knows?
Yeah, I understand that. To me, the volume is distinctly different on this turnaround. We fail where we're supposed to, but we don't actually fail. We just stay in the same range. We have not closed below the first hour of the CPI pop on November 10th in 21 days. And maybe the CPI data comes out on Tuesday and we fully die, but I'm not in that camp personally because of the chart I posted earlier. But also we've already been in a 2-year. We are exactly at the same price in the Qs that we were in November of 2020.
So riddle me this: how can you fully die if you're already dead?
Ghost, maybe?
Yeah, I guess.
Well,
Because
we're not dead.
to me, it just seems like it's just a matter of time. Like it's going to keep going further down.
Yeah. Is this like the scenario where oil and XLE were going to break out and everything was going to be merry?
Did I say it? Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. No.
I'm just saying, right? Like it's oil took a little while longer to distribute out, but it was distribution. I mean,
yeah,
energy.
we have, you and I have probably been the most bearish of oil in all of 2022, and we've been wrong until like, I don't know, the summer.
No, energy has been just a thorn, but oil has been in garbage.
Yeah,
since the summer, right? Since June, July.
Oil has been in a downtrend, even if energy was breaking out. Oil has been in a downtrend.
Oh man, I haven't even looked at this energy chart.
Oil peaked on March.
I don't think XLE looks that bad. I think it looks like it's just pulling into the 200-day.
Bruh.
It's retesting its breakout right here.
Bruh. That doesn't look bad.
No.
You got a big ass rounding top. You are retesting the breakout, so you say. If 2022's taught us two things, it's one, that shit is going to go down, period, point blank. And when it starts going, it's going to go. And
yeah, it could still easily pull back to 79.
Yeah, it could bounce.
80-ish.
And number two is our technicals on what we think a normal market has behaved is not behaving
for sure.
in 2022.
I'm just saying I don't think it looks that bad considering.
This is going to 55. I wouldn't even bother, right? So I'm sorry. I'm not going to be shy about this anymore.
That wouldn't surprise me either. I mean, either way.
Like I was shy about this before because it refused to break down, but now it's breaking down. So I'm going to double down on my thoughts here. Dude, this is going to 55, right?
Like, I don't know where it's going, but it's going further south.
If not your Nick, not your thesis, but if your thesis in general is that the recession is coming and the world is going to die, XLE breaking out makes absolutely no sense to anyone, to me at all, right? Sure. Like, so the demand for everything is going to die but your energy names. Yes, that's fantastic. I'm happy that you think that, but in what world does that happen, right? Like, okay, maybe there's a supply shortage. You know where there's a supply shortage? Houses. How's that doing? I'm a bit more animated today, but I'm like, look, to me, this is.
How are the home builders looking? Actually,
they're actually looking pretty decent comparatively, right? So this is my whole conversation. You have energy topped out in June. Tech bottomed in June, and then energy made a double top here now in October, and tech is trying to make a double bottom in the same manner here. So if you're talking,
I actually don't hate that home builder chart.
It actually looks great, right? Like to me, not great, but as good as chart.
Well, yeah. For right now, I mean, it looks better than most, is what I'm saying. Like, I actually don't hate it. Like, I hate every other chart that I charted this weekend.
But like, I was taught a long time ago that there's only so much money in the markets, right? So sectors go cold because the money is no longer there. And then when sectors go hot, it's because the money is flowing there. So for the last, I don't know, while tech was getting destroyed all of 2021 and then really started to break down in 2022, they were buying energy names, right? And energy was going steadily up. And this year, energy broke out and came in and parabolic up to the 91, 93 level in June, and basically got back up to that in September and got smoked. At the same time that tech also started to bottom out in September, October, right? Like it was around the same time frame. So to me, this is the rotation that I talked about before that started happening in June, and there's more confirmation for me that's coming in here. They are keeping the mega caps fairly weak for sure. Amazon looks like hot fire on a stick. Hot dog chip fire on the stick. It just looks terrible, right? Like I don't even know. Like it just Amazon looks terrible, and this is a company that's going to pull in over $500 billion in revenue this year, and it looks like it's going to go bankrupt.
Hey Nick, I gotta thank you. I gotta thank you. You know, you can get me and GP on the same team really quickly by just bringing up energy and oil. I just get the convo going. All of a sudden, I'm sitting here thinking like, yeah, if energy is really sucking hind tit and oil keeps collapsing, then God damn, we're going to see fucking tech rise and rally like a sumbitch. But no, if it's dead, it's dead. It's dead.
What's
all dead. We're going to zero.
Okay. All right. I think that's the end of the podcast then, right?
Well, no, I mean we're going to go negative like oil did in 2020. We're going to go negative for like a day. And then we're going to rise the ashes to all-time highs again. Like it's going to be the most vicious V bottom that has ever been V'd and
right
bottom.
Off the zero.
Yeah, that's one possibility.
I'm being facetious. We're not going to zero.
It's definitely one possibility.
I still see some downside.
And if that happens, Bags, it's been nice knowing you. Because it's going to be literally World War. We're just going to go straight to World War 10. Forget 3, 4, 5, and anything else.
Me and you personally going to World War 10?
No, the world, man. If the U.S. markets go to zero, there literally will be anarchy.
It's just like, damn, we just have a difference of opinion. Why we got to go to World War 10? Hey, Nick. No, seriously. We give you shit every time that you bring up energy and oil, but. You were saying before we hopped on, you still had some Valero out there. First question is why, but second question, what would you look to get into if you think that we're getting a 200-day bounce?
I mean, I would if
around 80.
I don't know. I wouldn't advise anybody getting in at any point. It's like to both of your guys' point, it's 2022. I'm just saying that, like, I do think that 200-day holds. I think we're basically pulling back to right where it broke out from basically back in October. So if we're going to bounce, it's going to be here. How sustainable it is, like, I can't say. So if you're either way, it's been, yeah. Everything. I'm in your camp. I don't think anything looks good. So basically, where I have positions and trail stops, and it's like, you know, I'm just going to get stopped out.
But if that 200 gets hit, though, I'm being serious
on
here.
XLE.
Yeah, if that 200 gets hit, right? Are you going to look to pile in more XLE? Or are you going to stay more individual names because you're more of an individual name trader than you are jump in an ETF?
Yeah, for sure. I'm not in the mood to catch a falling knife.
Got it.
So
if
that's your kind of play, that's your kind of play.
Us when you said, "Well, it don't look that bad."
I don't think it looks that bad.
All right.
I don't think XLE looks that bad.
All right.
Yeah, and I'm sure
on the weekly, it's pulling into the 30-week MA. I still kind of like the monthly. I mean, it's still trending higher. It's still making higher lows on the monthly since basically 2020.
It broke the pivot low, though. That is one of the worst signs you can get in.
So you're right. It could very well go back and test the bottom of that range, and that would be like the mid 60s.
Yeah, 60s.
And then of course, like, you know, who's to say we don't like dead count balance, continue our roll? At that point, the trend is down, but on every other time frame but the monthly. So you would just assume that it's going to continue lower. But you're already bearish on the XLE anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
I mean, like,
you know what I'm saying?
Like,
I'm just saying I don't think it looks that bad. I'm not saying like, hey, catch this volley knife versus the 200-day or the 30-week or any of those things. I don't think that's been the way to
suck my
necessarily.
balls, guys.
The 81 level has to hold, right? That's the 9-month SMA, and that is literally what has to hold here ultimately for the thesis that you're talking about to play out, right? Like,
For sure.
but for me, when you break pivot monthly lows and you continue lower, it's an exploration in price, and the price is going to go lower until it finds that point of exploration. Maybe 81 is that level where it finds that level and people start coming back in. If the general thesis is that recession is going to destroy us over the next year, like we just had valuation compression, now we get recession sell-off, then energy is not going to, if it's not going to outperform it might outperform compared to like tech or whatever, but ultimately they're all going to get sold, right? Like it's just going to be everything's going to get smoked. There's no hiding besides being in cash when everything's getting smoked.
Yeah, I don't disagree whatsoever.
Yeah, but like to me that pivot low on the monthly is something that when it breaks is something to really kind of watch, because it's not a daily pivot, it's not a weekly pivot, it's a monthly pivot, so it's a larger time frame, and it was off a monthly doji, right? Like it was already indecision
for sure,
and then the indecision resulted in a down move. Yes, we still have 2.5 weeks left in the month, and it could put in a bullish engulfing bar and change the whole conversation. I'm not saying that's not possible, but as of now, based on the chart, it just doesn't look that great. So I would want to see not just one day of holding, I'd want to see multiple days of holding and basing and finding some price discovery where people are actually willing to buy, right? And that 81 level might be it. So that's what I'd be watching for in energy. Because I'm not like, we're all traders, right, Nick? And ultimately we're playing levels and we're trying to figure stuff out and see where things are going. So I'm poking fun because I finally got my week of bearishness and energy. But
what do you like? Like what? I mean, other than let's say Netflix.
Yeah, that's right, baby. Sorry. Netflix did put in a red week with all that stuff. It's still a red week, but it closed below last week's
inside
close.
week.
It's I don't know. It has. We've talked about this for the last 3 or 4 weeks. Netflix has looked like it's waning momentum, right? And it's approaching a lot of different resistance zones and stuff like that. And my thought process is either it just gaps out of this resistance zone and never even fills the gap in terms of like it just gaps over the gap, or it gets smoked before the gap even happens, right? And as of Friday's candle, it still was up $10, even though that candle looks awful. While the market was fully red and everything was still selling off, Netflix was still, in the past, Netflix would have been red with everything else. And it still closed green. So that to me is that it's still, and all, I think even the 100-day, the only one that's not in terms of moving averages is the 150-day moving average is below the 200-day, but every other moving average is in the right place, right? The 9's above the 21, 21's above the 50, 50's above the 100, the 100 is above the 200. Now it's only the 150 that needs to get above. So it could, I personally think that Netflix could go sideways till like the April earnings process here, like up and down. But I also think that everyone is betting against the gap fill, and Netflix doesn't like people who bet against it. So anything's possible. I like NVIDIA. I think NVIDIA looks pretty damn good.
I was just looking at the NVIDIA chart.
I like the semis. Surprise.
Yeah. And dude, to me, even Apple looks pretty damn good, right? Like if you're looking at like the weekly, that 138 is your line in the sand, right? It continues to be the post-split highs. It could be a distribution. It doesn't look like it to me yet, like the way energy was looking like distribution, but it could be distribution, and it's something that's on my on my healthy list of watching things that make the market go boom or
I
not
got a
boom.
beautiful Apple chart I posted this week. Where's it at? Is this it? No.
I think biotech looks like garbage, to be honest.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're looking at XBI,
Yeah, it looks just like like it's just wedging to break down.
it's consolidating, right? To me, not garbage. It looks trendless. It 1 week it goes up, 1 week it goes down, 1 week it goes
Yeah,
up, 1 week
I
it goes
agree
down.
with that.
Right? Like there's not much to this. People are going to draw bear flags. People are going to draw wedges. People are going to do all this stuff. But ultimately, for what is this? 14 weeks now? 14
Yeah.
straight weeks. 1 week up, 1 week down, 1 week up, 1 week down, and you're like, guys, like I'm getting like vertigo from looking at this chart. So
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
Yeah, I like
I would
semis.
agree. Yeah, no, like I don't really know what. I have no opinion as to what looks good.
Potentially holding a breakout here.
Home Depot, Lowe's still looks good. Costco looks good. Right? Home Depot, it's been built. It had a big move up from the COVID bottoms. It is now curling up, rounding bottom, whatever you want to call it, a typical consolidation pattern in a long-term up cycle. It's not breaking down further. And Lowe's also looks pretty good. Looks
Yeah, we
very
liked
similar.
Lowe's a couple weeks ago too.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I don't like. Target.
No, but Walmart
No.
looks pretty good.
No, I don't like either of them. Look at them. Look at them both this weekend. Don't like them.
Yeah, Walmart had a pretty bad week, but on lower volume, right? Like, and if you're looking
Throw it
at
in the
like
gutter and go buy another, as the great once said.
I think Shop looks pretty good. MDB. How does in the middle of our recession, worst market ever going to zero, how does MD put in that type of weekly volume candle? Look at that
Wow,
thing.
I haven't looked at this chart in a minute. Wow, that's a big
Oh,
volume
yeah.
candle.
That is the
there.
highest volume candle
Ever.
in its history.
Ever. So MongoDB.
Right. So I think by when I say looks good, what I mean by that is it's not breaking down anymore and it's holding technical levels. Nick, what we were talking about before we started the call, which is a lot of things are holding technical levels that were not holding most of this year. It gets to the 9-day or the 21-day and it finds support. That is something that's to me is a character shift. And yes, CPI data couldn't come out Tuesday and ruin all of it. I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen. But if it does, it does, right? Like, so everyone talks about we had a really bad week on no news. And I don't know if people are listening to the news, but we had 2 big inflation data points that came in pretty hot. And that's why we were selling off this week. But we tagged the weekly 200 week on the Qs and we held. So like we're in a sideways pattern. We're sandwiched between the 50 and the 200-day on the 4-hour, where we're butting up right against the monthly 9 SMA. There's a lot here that's holding that was not holding earlier this year.
Andrew in the chat says CELH still rocking along. I'm gonna say it's got a warning shot, Andrew. I see some negative divergence. Again, we've talked about negative divergence in the past. Doesn't mean it happens tomorrow, doesn't mean it happens next week, but it's just something to keep in mind. And it's definitely got some. So I'd be cautious.
Goldman looks great.
I was going to ask what you thought about gold.
Our friend and Anchors Away said, "You ugly candle, but pulling back into the 50-day monster volume recently. Yeah, it's had some nice volume.
Pull up. We'll go to gold in a second, but pull up Goldman Sachs, right?
Yep.
Breakout, back test of the breakout, holds a 9 weekly SMA.
And this is something that we've touched on a lot, right? Like this had the inverted cup and handle going on. Didn't play out. False move became a fast move, right? Like, look at that. Like, that went from looking like it was ready to shit the bed to nearly 30% higher. I mean, that's a nice little kick in the pants for 2022.
Look at right. It back tested the breakout where it just happened.
Yeah.
It came back into the 9 weekly SMA. It held. The volume is increasing, but it hasn't increased past the green volume yet. So to me, that's consolidation of people who caught that crazy move in 2 months, right? We're back testing support here. Has it broken down? Not to me.
You guys have heard the fuck around and find out. That's what I'm calling 2022. For all these fake failed moves, this is the fuck around and find out market. You think it's going you buy before the breakout, you get fucked. You buy below the breakout, you get fucked, right? So that's what I'm going to call it. It's December. That's what 2022 has been. Nick, you said gold?
Yeah.
GLD. I know Anchors Away has been liking gold, and I've had Batman up there for the longest time.
The miners,
it still could fill that 170. That was the line I drew so long ago, it seems. But it doesn't look bad in comparison to others. Like this, compared to a lot of charts, this is a better looking chart for sure.
False breakdown of a consolidation pattern in an uptrend. It's the FAFO methodology. Around and find out.
This could be a fuck around and find out. Like, it was Batman, it was getting ready to fall off the table, and now watch it go to all-time highs.
The monthly engulfed 2 months, like in one candle.
Look at that monthly. That's a bad motherfucker right there.
Yeah. So,
pardon my French. I'm cursing a lot.
Nick, I think we talked about earlier in the year about gold, right?
Yeah,
4 to 5 months that it's going to have, like, everyone's going to think it's going to break out. It's going to just beat everyone out of 4 or 5 months. That was like February or March. It's obviously been a bit longer than that. But it's putting in the false moves here to the upside and shaking out as many people as possible. But my gold assessment is it chops people to bits. So I'll buy the all-time high because I like gold here, but I also looked at the chart going back 40 years, and it's literally a chop fest until all-time highs break out.
Yeah.
And I know for other people they can handle it, but I know for me it messes with my mental, and then when the real breakout comes, I just won't participate, right?
For sure.
Yeah, I look at the GDX here. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, GP. Like, this kind of lines up with this line right here, that 169.90, 170 area, and the GDX would be right about there. So that kind of lines up for some pause for the cause. Hey, we got a bunch of people in the chat tonight.
We do.
I wanna give them some time.
Absolutely. So I see Chinese stocks.
Anil says Chinese stocks better. I was actually looking at the Chinese stocks, and I've talked a lot of shit about Chinese stocks. Like, it looks pretty good. This is the highest or the closest the K-Web has been to the weekly 50 since it failed way back in June 21. Now it still needs to make it through that, but it's a completely different setup, and it looks like it's a new uptrend. So I don't recommend Chinese stocks, but for a trade, to me, like, it might look pretty good for me to make a move to make some quick dough. So I don't hate it. I was looking at BABA as well, which has just been a piece of shit to hold on to if you've been holding on to it. But it looks, I mean, it bounced way down here off this triple bottom low. So it looks like it has some room. JD, a name that had a really big move. I mean, JD's back in, almost ready to get back into the 60s.
PDD looks great.
So there's some names there. I just hate that I can't. It's hard for me to trust anything in that market, and I've gone on ad nauseum why. So I'm not going to, take the time and repeat myself. But yeah, some of these names look pretty good. I don't know, GP. It sounds like you've been looking at a few. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna sit on my hands.
So not interested.
No.
Yeah, so like I'm on the same boat with you guys. Like I just refuse to trade these. They're just a constant mind bending annoyance. And if you have the wherewithal to handle this and trade it, great. It's not in my wheelhouse of wanting to participate. Because it's just lots of shakeouts and lots of false rumors and all this other stuff. It's just, there's a lot of, there'll be plenty of time in Chinese stocks for you to still catch the move once it stops becoming this black hole of just stuff.
So interesting here. Shrey Shah says, what about Beyond? And have you guys noticed the correlation with Bitcoin? And hell no, I have not.
No.
but I'm interested to find out. So let's look at some Bitcoin. And
while you're doing this, Bags, just keep in mind, right? Like a lot of we are no longer in a free money market, right? All these companies, Beyond, Carvana, Redfin, even Redfin actually looks pretty good if you're looking at the chart. They're all dependent on free money. They cannot survive on their own. So like it could have moves here. Beyond actually looks pretty decent. Got a decent trade on it earlier last week. But like the overall scheme is that these guys are losing money and they're burning through the cash that they have. So either an offering will come, and that's probably why it's looking strong, because people know that an offering's coming. So they want to raise the price so they can get more money in their coffers.
All right. I just pulled up the two charts and I didn't see a correlation. Shrey, if you're still in the chat, please describe what this correlation is, and I would be happy to discuss it further. Andrew says Roblox. I know that's a name you've been in and out of, or I think you're probably still in it there, GP. Yeah,
it's a long-term hold for me, and it still continues to be while it chops in this wide range. I did put on some January calls on Friday.
January 23 calls?
Yeah, a couple months out to see if this can push up from the bottom end of the range, the top end of the range, because that's where it seems to be. But I don't really look at this chart that often. I looked at it for the first time on Friday in like a couple weeks.
I actually looked at it Saturday night when I was doing my charting. So we'll see.
There's a lot of accumulation in the chart. So I'm not, unless I can get a trade from the bottom of the range, I don't try to play around with it in the middle, because it can go either way.
Neil, any good things to accumulate for long term or still early? I'm guessing this is not Chinese, but in general. Yeah, I mean, I think
when you say long term, what is that? Because I think a constant conversation or arguments that happen.
Well, this is not financial advice or investment advice.
But what's your time frame? Some people's long term is 6 months. Some people's long term is 12 months. Some people
that's like 5 to 10 years. Would be my. definition of long
and
term.
we've talked. Sorry, Nick, I cut you off.
No, I was just saying. I mean, 5 to 10 years, I think, is my idea of long term.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about some names that we like. I mean, GP likes Roblox long term. We've talked about Global Foundries as a name that I think all of us liked at some point. I'm not sure if Nick, if you're still on that boat.
Yeah.
Kick me in the head. What's some other names? We've named probably a half dozen at some point that we've liked for one reason or another for long term.
Yeah, like 5 to 10 years out, I'd be looking. So my personal opinion is we're in a regime shift and change, right? All the stocks that have led us to the point where we were in 2021 and early 2022 aren't going to be the one. They will continue to be cash machines. They will continue to do well. But what I'm looking for is all the overvalued IPOs that have gotten destroyed or have gone sideways, or those are the ones I'd be looking at from a basing perspective for potential new leaders coming out of this cycle, whenever this cycle actually starts.
Anchors Away says Airbnb. I mean, I'm not crazy about the chart, but I think long term it's probably okay. Last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago, we talked about Coin and Robinhood. Coin's basically at all-time lows now. It was last week, I think we talked about that.
Robinhood introduced their own retirement. I think Robinhood is a long-term hold for me. I don't know if it's going to be one of those amazing payouts, but they're solidly building for the future. And I like, in general, for me, I like being part of companies with founders still at the helm that disrupt industries quite often.
Pick a name that you like in the cybersecurity space. That's going to continue to grow, in my opinion. Palo Alto has been one of my favorites. The chart doesn't look great, but it's been one of my favorites for a long time. I mean, that's a handful there. Handful of names for you.
Yeah.
Nick,
Where do you think,
you got
Pan?
one you can throw out there?
I was gonna ask. I mean, cyber is always one that I track.
Yeah.
Kind of same thing with, which I don't like it as much as I liked Palo Alto. Yeah, I mean, I don't like that chart actually at all.
Yeah, Palo Alto's chart doesn't look great. But again, thinking long term, I think cybersecurity is probably someplace that you want to have some money, right? Like just whatever.
Do you think you get a shot at, like, I don't know, 120, low 120s in Palo Alto? Or do you think it holds up? Do you think it holds up here?
The whole sector doesn't look great.
Sure.
So that's the bug. That's the ETF that covers them. And like,
I don't like Palo Alto at all.
The charts don't look great right now. But again, just a theme of something long term. Cybersecurity is probably someplace. I know someplace I'm in. Someplace I'll stay in.
Sorry. What do you think of DoorDash here?
I haven't looked at DoorDash.
I don't know.
It looks like context logic to me.
I typically do like the long-term conversations and looks and go through that like hundreds and hundreds of charts closer to the end of the year. Personally, for me, before I kind of assess that conversation, I think that's hard for me to answer right now because I usually take like 3 or 4 days, kind of just lock myself in my room and look at charts and try to figure out what the next kind of where things are going and what I can see rotating and stuff like that. So I don't have a great answer. I have some individual names, but sector wise, I think it's going to be choppy for a while, right? Yep. As we swap into a non-free money environment, the what I personally think is going to happen is you're going to see the companies that can make actual physical cash, who are churning cash and generating profits and all that other stuff, are the ones that continue to rise over time. And the ones that don't, that needed free money to survive, are gonna try to do a mean reversion here over maybe the next couple of months, but ultimately they're going to struggle to survive unless someone really believes in their vision.
True that.
Like if you pull up the Redfin chart, right, on a weekly basis off of earnings, that was a monster move. Not move, but volume, right? Like that is telling you that someone's interested in Redfin here. So can you use this as levels to trade from? Yeah. But do I think Redfin's a long-term kind of view here? I don't think I do at this point. Especially after watching that series on Netflix with the Redfin CEO. I'm like, this guy doesn't want to make any money. He just wants to get people to make money. So I'm not really
somebody got in from basically 3 and change up to probably about 450, it looks like, right? Like that was, yeah. So yeah, you could probably use this level, but yeah, I'm not crazy about that chart.
No, not at all. But this is mean reversion trades, right? Like, but this mean reversion trade could last 3 months, all right, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It could just be a week, it could be multiple weeks, it could be multiple months. So that's why I asked time frame, because you could potentially see Redfin triple from here, but it could also go back below this level in the following 3 months after that. So
for sure.
The mega cap biotechs don't look good anymore.
No.
But
2022.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like every time we think it's ready to go one way, it goes the other. It's the fuck around and find out.
And then that brings me back to Netflix, because that's the one of the very, very few charts that is not doing that yet. Yeah. Notice how I said yet.
Yeah, true that. God, yeah, nothing. I don't even.
So the places where I'd be looking for like clues, right? Look at junk bonds, right? J and K.
J and K.
That to me right now looks pretty good. It's holding the levels that we were talking about, right? Like it's holding the weekly moving averages. It's seeing volume come in.
Nick, this looks like your XLE.
Yeah. But
yeah, right.
This is already played out.
Exactly.
Here's the roadmap.
Sorry, Nick. Sorry.
Nah, man, that's good.
Get you some gush. I'll never let you live that one down. Get you some gush.
But so like let's talk a little bit about like the CPI stuff, right? Like the CPI data that's coming out this week.
Yeah, we got Daddy Powell coming out too.
Yeah, we have FOMC, we have the quadruple witching that happens on Friday, and there's a fourth event. Oh, was it the kitchen sink? No, but pretty much everything and its mother is coming out this week, and you have a lot. And if you're looking at the chart for the last 4 weeks, we've been sideways. And we're holding levels at this point to tell me that we could potentially push forward. But if we start breaking these levels, then yeah, the next leg is definitely going to be down. But as of now, we haven't. Like, we have literally since November 10th been sideways.
Yeah.
21 days in the same range, right? Like, have we seen that in 2022? We have not.
Would that be 3 weeks tight?
It's not really tight, but
it's not.
So what are we doing on Monday?
What are we doing on Monday?
Yeah.
Jack and shit.
Shorting, right? Like, isn't that what everyone's doing these days? The cool kids.
Yeah.
I have on, obviously I have on some Netflix because it's Netflix. I am watching nothing on Monday because we're not going to do anything until Tuesday CPI report. Might go up, we might go down, we might go up, we might go down.
And then Wednesday is PAL, right? Or
Yeah. So,
yeah.
but if CPI data comes in lighter than expected, and if you're looking at all the things that have driven us up, gasoline, oil, nat gas, what else was it? Even like the PPI data came in hot.
I filled up for 250 today.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Dang, you're right. I filled up with like $3.
And dollar.
Let's go, Brandon. Keep my gas prices low. Anyway.
Yeah, so I think to answer Anil's earlier questions to accumulate, I think it's still early if you're not already in. But I also like crypto, man. Crypto's not breaking down.
Hey, hey, hey. Hey, 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 hey. I was looking at the chart and gotta be honest with you. It made me think of something. All right. So here's my Bitcoin chart. Ever ready Bitcoin chart. And we're basically playing off of
100% all shenanigans, but yes.
Yeah, 100% technical analysis, crypto, just throw it out the window. It's all bullshit. Chicken bones. But yeah, we're basically playing in this range between where we lost the breakout to all-time highs in 2017. So we're kind of right in that little blue area right there. But we got this little wedge, and I was like, man, that wedge looks familiar. Where did I see this wedge? Where have I seen one of these wedges before? And you know what? It came to me. It came to me like a song I wrote. This guy's wedge right here.
Back test of the base.
Came to me just like that.
I don't see it.
Hang on, I gotta pull up the other chart.
Nick, do you see it?
No.
You will. You'll see it. Gotta figure out where it's at. I think it's in. I got too many charts. It's in beta. Maybe not.
Yes. And once we're done with this, let's talk about the dollar a little bit too.
There you go. Pink lines.
Okay. I could see it.
Sure.
Like I've been talking about crypto for the last couple of weeks, right? I with the kitchen sink thrown at crypto, these things have held up pretty damn well, right? Everyone's talking about
but this trend line kind of leads you into like, you know, into the early part of 2023 before we probably run into it, and then we'll see what happens right there. So we still got some fuck around going on here, but yeah. And the Ethereum chart, just hanging out, just not doing too much, just hanging out.
Refuses to even go to the bottom of that range, right?
Yeah,
like it's
just kind of hanging out. And you know, I might have convinced myself that I like Ethereum more than Bitcoin.
Yep.
So there's the ETH versus Bit relatives chart. And it's just,
anchors, I definitely don't think it's going to be full lockout rally. There's just not enough liquidity for that type of movement. My personal opinion. I'd like to see it, but I'm just answering some of the questions while you're doing this. Or talk.
No, I'm reading them too now. Tesla. We didn't talk about Tesla.
No.
For the first time, and I don't know how long we didn't talk about Tesla. I don't know.
Potential head and shoulders breakout, but if it's a FAFO methodology,
goes the other way.
yup. But what's going to bring in the liquidity? Nothing at this point. And this is I definitely have some ETH.
I mean, I said this back in August when I got out of my Tesla. I'm just tired of Elon shit. And every day that he tweets, I'm even more tired of Elon shit. So he's a genius. He's whatever. I don't know. I just I don't entrust him with my money right now.
Yep. And 2019 was the same exact feelings when, as a shareholder, you were seeing the prices that you bought 5 years ago being retested. You're like, screw this guy, blah, blah, blah. And we all know what happened after that, right? I'm not saying that's exactly what's going to happen.
No, for me, it's not about the chart. It's about he's a piece of shit human being.
But he was this. He literally on.
He's
April
always been a
Fool's
piece
Day-
of shit human being. Yes, now I understand.
Yes. He literally on April Fool's Day, while everyone was worried about bankruptcy, posted a picture about how Tesla is bankrupt, and
Yeah,
I believe Tesla gapped down that day, right? Like it's just what he does. If you're not buying into it, then definitely don't be in it. But
yeah,
it's what he does.
Yeah, I can't. Can't do it.
Exactly, Pratik. Like,
I mean, if I don't like Zuck, there's no way I can like Elon.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not even gonna get into his fucking tweets, but I mean, he's just so full of shit.
Aren't we all?
Well, some of us more than others, but some of us didn't buy a social media platform to continue to disseminate bullshit. But anyway, we're getting off topic.
Well, what
Let's
happened?
talk about the dollar to close this out a bit.
The dollar.
In what world does
throw
this
my glasses down?
So, like Nick, what I was talking about earlier on the call is, for the entire year, the dollar's trend has been really strong. It refuses to break pivot lows, usually finds buyers before and continues higher. And this turn here has completely changed that character of the dollar. It has broken pivot lows after pivot low. And to me, the dollar is going lower. It might go sideways for a little bit, but it doesn't look great. And this kind of rhetoric makes sense because ultimately the world is raising rates, so other currencies will get stronger. Doesn't necessarily mean the dollar gets weaker, but as a pair trade, they do. It does.
So you saying the dollar's gonna rally?
I think the dollar might go up or go sideways for a little bit, but I think ultimate trajectory is still further down.
Yeah. But short term, you're to me, it sounded like you think the dollar's going to rally a little bit.
Yeah, like it has been, right? It's everyone continues to find the dollar to be like a bull trade, right? Like that's the 2022 trade that's worked. So they continue to buy support and then it breaks support, so they sell, right? So if you look at charts from a human psychology perspective, which is what's been going on with energy, is like it's been strong all year. So when it gets to support, you buy, and there's not enough selling pressure, so it goes back up. But it's in a process to distribute out. Is like it continues to show waning momentum, and it momentum first wanes and then it collapses. Right, like if you think about like a lot of the tech charts this year, like Square is an example and Roku are two examples I can think of, right? Square and Roku were insanely weak all in the back half of 2021. Right? They were not going anywhere. They were on a trajectory down, and then the last kind of sellers or support buyers just kind of gave up because it broke through, and it's been nothing but death after that.
I kind of like Square.
Square looks good now, but not good, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, there's very few things that look good right now, but I Of all the shit that I've looked through, like it's not the worst I've seen.
Yeah, and so like, I think dollar
Roku
and
might be the worst I've seen. I don't know. That's pretty bad.
Roku looks better too.
Eh.
It doesn't look great. It just looks better. Like I said, I think Shop looks good, right? Shop, bring up Shop.
Shop
It's at
looks
the
better
top
than
of the
Roku.
range. It can go to the bottom of the range, but I think it's basing in a place where it based before, and it's a retest of the entire 2020 COVID move, and it's basing in this process. So whenever it breaks out, that'll be a different conversation. It could be 5 years from now when it breaks out, but it's basing. It's finding buyers.
Wow, I mean, you're buying it for basically pandemic prices right now on the old Shop.
Yeah. But Google looks weak. Amazon looks weak. Microsoft is kind of trendless. It goes up 10, down 10, up 10, down 10. So that one just seems trendless. Tesla is still under the 200-week estimated moving average. So the trend is down at the moment. Apple is sideways, so it's trendless.
Microsoft has a trend down.
To the top of the channel again, right? Like that's the trend with that Microsoft.
Yep.
Right? The IWM was weak last week. Small caps.
Yeah, it was. That was a big time failure. Right at trend.
Yeah, on lower volume, right?
Was it?
Prior week.
I'll trust you to know. Yeah, just barely.
Slightly higher.
Amazon.
Apple's probably
prices.
my favorite short setup, I think.
Apple's your favorite short setup? Interesting. What
Yeah,
makes you
just
say
kind
that?
of where it's at. I just like it's basically looking pretty kind of symmetrical triangle-ish. Just on the
What time
daily,
frame?
kind of
Daily.
starting in September, and kind of where it's sitting right now. I would like I'd use like 140-ish as kind of like a pivot to watch. Is kind of where if you're not short from like the mid 140s, kind of into that push, like into the, if you weren't short into the kind of the 20-day, I'd be looking to wait to see if like 140 kind of holds. And if not, I'd be short below that. At the very least, you could go after the gap fill at 138.50. And then if momentum really starts to kick in, maybe leg into it below 135. But again, you're better off selling into, even on the short side, you're better off selling into pivot lows than you are legging into like a breakdown,
Yeah, it's trendless, right? To a point.
Right.
The one
I'm just saying I on a
go
breakout or breakdown of that like symmetrical triangle is kind of like how I would kind of pick which direction I want to play it.
Yeah.
But on the short side, I just think it's kind of like right there.
Yeah, it looks like a diamond to me as well. So
yeah, exactly.
It looks like a diamond. The one thing I noticed is even the big wick down on 11.4 for Apple.
Yeah,
it still made a higher low by 1 penny.
Yeah, true.
When things break down, Nick, we've seen this so many times, right? Bags too. When things break down, they break down. They don't wick a 1 penny from the lows, right? It's literally 37 cents versus 38 cents. It's one damn penny. And
you gotta be shitting.
I know I'm pulling on hairs here. I get it.
You gotta be shitting. No, I'm laughing about they took it down to a penny so it wouldn't be a lower low. Like that's what I'm cracking up about.
But that's the strength, right? Like people are like, I'm gonna not even let it break down, and I'm gonna buy it before it happens. And even though granted it was only a penny.
So here's the moment where I've got like all my conspiracy theories on the board and everything, right? Like we're getting jerked around. Like last week, I was slightly less bullish bags, less than bullish bags. Now I'm back to bearish bags. Watch him just send it this week. Watch it just be full send, and everything was a giant shakeout. Now, would I say that's my base scenario? No, but am I open to that scenario? Well, hell yes, I am, because it's 2022.
That's my base scenario.
Like whatever you think it's going to do, it's not going to do.
It's going to do exactly what we think it's going to do. It's going to FAFO.
Yeah, if we'll fuck around, find out. Well,
I personally think it's a full send week, but that's just personally me.
Well, diamonds are forever, and unfortunately, this call is not.
Yes, and yes, PayPal is still dying because it's been overvalued for like a decade.
Forever.
Yes.
Ever since Elon got involved. Oh, sorry. sorry. Anyway, guys, thanks again for joining.
We did not get to the DAX and Nifty, but maybe we'll get some charts up later.
Appreciate you guys. Hey, and thanks to everyone who jumped in and chat. I really like it when we have chatters. It gives us some other things to talk about than just me being devil's advocate and the biggest bear hater in the world. So appreciate you guys. Appreciate the chat squad. Nick, GP. Nick, glad you're back again. You know, glad that you're not dealing with any more sickness. So thanks for being here. GP, stay well, my brother. Still got prayers for you, but hey, we did it. We did it again. Another hour in the books. Thanks, guys.
All right, appreciate